Make no mistake, my friend, this video right here is not why I want. That is being reserved for the new year. I do have plans to get things going, and I'm sure it's going to be a great time for all of us to analyze and break down the prospects of the 2024 NHL Entry Draft. But in today's video, we are taking a very preliminary look at the top guy, the big dog, the #1 projected player in this year's draft, because when it comes to the #1 player of the most previous draft, Connor Bedard, I feel like now it's finally time to define his match. Let's talk today about 2024 projected first overall pick in the draft, Macklin Celebrini, and just how good he has been throughout this entire draft-eligible season. Spoiler alert, it's been much better than we thought it could be. Now, we're going to do a lot of this as the Why I Want season comes and goes, so we don't really need to explore every single intricate detail, but just going over the main profile right here, Macklin Celebrini is a 17-year-old forward from Vancouver, BC. He's 6 feet, 190 pounds, left-handed forward, and as you could probably guess by everything we've been talking about heading into this, he is projected to go first overall. He's ranked #1 on the Consolidated list, the Elite Prospects list, Daily Faceoff, Hockey News, Bob McKenzie, McKean's Button, and Dauber. He's gonna be #1. Let's face it. Now, the thing about Macklin Celebrini that put him on the map last year was his total dominant draft -1 season with the Chicago Steel in the USHL. There, he had 86 points in 50 games played, 46 goals, 40 assists, and was a stud for Team Canada at the World Under-18s. Now, you gotta remember, he was an underage player at this time, so he was only 16 years old when he played off against this competition. Yet, he was still dominant. Part of what made this so special during the USHL season was the record itself. Here's a tweet made by Gabe Foley from almost a year ago that talks specifically about what 86 points for Macklin Celebrini means. If he accomplishes that number, which he did, he will shatter Adam Fantilli's draft -1 scoring record of 74 points in the USHL. Kyle Connor also recorded 74 points too. If you aren't on the Celebrini hype train already, get on it. This kid is elite. Now, you could see from the timeline this tweet was made in January of 2023. Macklin Celebrini did indeed get those 86 points, shattering the USHL's point production record for 16-year-old players. I think we could all acknowledge that for Adam Fantilli, he became a beast in the NCAA, and now he's a good NHL rookie, and Kyle Connor is one of the top goal scorers in the entire NHL. So even as far back as last season, there was already a pretty good hype train going on for Macklin Celebrini. However, this is where things get crazy, because if you take a look at what Celebrini is up to nowadays, he's playing for BU in the NCAA. He's on a break right now. He's playing for Team Canada at the World Juniors, or he's not playing. He actually got ejected the other day because he hit a player from behind. He got suspended, so interesting to see that. But Macklin Celebrini, in the NCAA stint he's had so far, has 25 points in 15 games played. Way over a point per game. Again, as a 17-year-old forward. Now, you may be asking yourself, why is Macklin Celebrini in the NCAA if he's only 17? Aren't you supposed to be an 18-year-old to enter college? And yeah, that's right. The difference here, though, is that Macklin Celebrini had himself accelerated schooling to enter the NCAA early. Not only was this guy a stud of a hockey player, leading the USHL in goals and points, setting the USHL U17 goals and points record, being the forward of the year, rookie of the year, winning the bronze medal on the U18 team, and being a top 3 player on that squad too, he also got his studies done. And he was so exceptional that he found himself in the NCAA a year early, where he is doing all these things, and he's keeping up with other guys. Take a look at this. Adam Fantilli, in his first 15 NCAA games as a draft eligible, had 11 goals and 26 points. Macklin Celebrini has 10 goals and 25 points. Celebrini is keeping pace and doing it while being 8 months younger than Fantilli was. Now, an interesting thing about this entire tweet is that you had a reply from Clapbombs. Who has the higher ceiling, Celebrini or Mishkov? You actually have Marco D'Amico, who writes for Habs Hockey Now, go out there and say this: I'd do Celebrini. Bedard is ahead, but it's a real conversation between Celebrini, Fantilli, and Carlson as to who would come in second. Now, to make things even more crazy when you talk about the Connor Bedard argument, because we did bring his name up earlier in the video, Byron Bader had himself his own model. I'm pretty sure y'all are familiar with Bader and his work. He does a lot of prospecting stuff. He's done so over the years. His work has been featured on Sportsnet, TSN, and The Athletic. He posted the other day the developing charts of Macklin Celebrini and Connor Bedard, essentially saying here that in their draft-eligible seasons, Celebrini is just a shade underneath what Bedard had been too. In Bedard's draft-eligible year in the WHL, his NHL E-score was 62. Celebrini's in the NCAA right now is at 60, which is phenomenal. If you take a look at the star probabilities here for Celebrini, it projects him as a 99 percentile chance of becoming an NHL superstar. And his draft year comparable players are Mario Lemieux, Connor McDavid, Robert Reichel, Paul Kariya, and Patrick Kane. Not a bad list of names to be compared to based off of the analytical model. Now, you may go out there and say, okay, wait a minute, like, where are these numbers coming from? What does Byron Bader's model actually do? Well, it takes a look at all these things. The age, the size, the league, the position, just how good they have been production-wise, and comparing it to historical data of guys in the past. So this is a really interesting look of collecting all the data available and plugging it into an algorithm that spits out players that are most comparable to what Celebrini has been able to do. And Connor Bedard had similar results on his own ranking when he was draft eligible as well, sharing the likes of Connor McDavid on his own list. Now, Connor Bedard was not compared to Mario Lemieux. I think that's pretty easy to see why, but there still are some other very fantastic players that were listed on both of these lists. So when it comes to Celebrini, this is a guy who, I mean, if you wanted to talk about PNHLE and equivalency scores, mapping out what these first overall picks had done in their draft-eligible seasons, this is a much better player profile than what we saw out of Slafkovsky. It's better than what we saw out of Owen Power. It's probably better than Alexis Lafreniere. I'd say it's better than Jack Hughes. He's outproducing NCAA competition. Jack Hughes is playing against junior players. It's better than Rasmus Dahlin. This player is at that same level of the Connor Bedard-like profile we had seen last year. And the crazy part is, if you go over to the NHL Draft Lottery odds on Tankathon.com, Chicago currently has the second best odds at getting the first overall pick. Now, the numbers and everything are outdated because I am pre-recording this video on Friday, but Chicago has themselves a 13.5% chance at grabbing Macklin Celebrini. So if you wanted to say having the two Vancouver guys in Bedard and Celebrini playing together is a possibility, oh yeah, it's definitely a possibility in Chicago. You do have yourselves a few articles popping up here and there now talking about this idea. We'll go into this and more as we get into the Why I Want territory of the year. That's when we're going to break down what exactly it is Celebrini does well, the skills, what he excels at, and just things that we could look out for as he makes his NHL debut. But for now, acknowledging just the strict raw hard points, this is a superstar caliber prospect who is doing fantastic things in the NCAA, who is going to light up the World Juniors. He's playing on a line, or he was playing on a line, with Fraser Minton and Jordan Dumais, two guys who are just great prospects in their own rights. And assuming he comes back from the suspension and he serves his time and he's able to do what it is that he wants to do without holding back once the tournament fully gets into swing, then Celebrini is probably going to have himself a World Junior Showcase for the ages, even if he is wearing that caged-up helmet that you have to wear because you're an underage player. So, Connor Bedard, meet your match. He's eligible in the 2024 NHL Entry Draft, and he's right neck and neck with the way you progressed from last year. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about how good Macklin Celebrini is, and whether or not you buy the hype that he's going to be as good as Bedard. You could definitely say that a lot of the numbers we looked at sort of, in a very slight way, give the edge to Connor, which is totally alright because Connor Bedard is one of the best prospects we have seen in a decade. So being just a shade under that, totally fine. But because there is a close enough comparison to be made, I wanted to go out there and make this video. Connor Bedard, meet your match. Macklin Celebrini is here to stay, and he may even be heading to Chicago, depending on how you guys end up winning and losing games. Celebrini and Bedard on the same team would be kind of nuts, wouldn't it be? So, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Celebrini and the way he plays the game. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.